Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gives in the Bank recruiting podcast brought to you by BuckeyeScoop.com. We had a bit of a hiatus. My buddy Bill Greene here was on the disabled list for a little while with a back issue that was causing us some recording issues. Bill, first of all, before we get into this, how are you feeling today?
Very good. Very good. On the mend. I would say that I am 90 to 95% of where I want to be. And 3 weeks ago, I was probably a negative 10% to where I didn't even register on the chart. So great medical therapy people. And, it's a miracle, what they can do with you, you get the right medical people involved, and which I did, and man alive. I mean, I was gone and, dark, and now I'm back in the light.
You'll never take for granted the ability to sit up for more than 5 minutes at a time again, will you?
Never. I was basically bedfast for about 5 weeks. It was hard to walk to the kitchen and heat something in the microwave. So, and now we're back. So feeling good.
Well, just in time, because if you're watching this is a commitment special. Ohio State just landed Malik Hartford, a 4-star safety out of Lakota West High School, just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. This has been a guy that they really zeroed in on here. I don't know, the last 3 or 4 months. Certainly they were aware of him before and were very interested in him recruiting him, but this really took off when Perry Eliano was brought in from Cincinnati. Hartford was Perry Eliano's top recruiting target for the 2023 class while he was at Cincinnati. That carried over, led to an offer from Ohio State, and things kind of picked up from there. So this is as much the Perry Eliano impact podcast as it is the Malik Hartford impact podcast. But Bill, I mean, first of all, what is Ohio State getting? So much angst about the safety position the last couple of years and the lack of talent and depth. What do you think this does for that room?
Yeah, we knew in advance pretty much we were going to do this podcast about Malik. So I really made some notes here. And the first thing I would say about Malik, this is a guy that I've loved forever. And if you can go back months, way before Ohio State offered him, and I was clamoring that he should be offered. I mean, to me, he's the number one player in Ohio. I love Luke Montgomery. And I think there's a battle there between Luke and Malik for the top spot. I think there's a drop off after those two. I think there's a gap, but I love the kid. I mean, on the high end, you're looking at Malik Hooker. He's 6'3", he's 175. He can run, he can jump, he can change direction. He's possibly a more athletic Jordan Fuller. I love the kid. I mean, and I think he fits beautifully in what Jim Knowles wants to do. And he would have been the perfect single high safety in the Jeff Hafley defense as well. The days of recruiting the Mike Doss safeties, love Mike. If you're watching this, you're my guy, but they don't recruit those guys anymore. And now, you need a combo guy can do everything. And Malik Hartford is the guy that I would tell viewers, go to his huddle page. And people always say, I don't know what I'm seeing when I watch film. I'm not a pro like the coaches. Just go watch that huddle film. And I don't care if you're an amateur film watcher. It's amazing film, what he can do. And I love the kid because he runs down on kickoffs and smashes people. He will hit. He's physical. And then you see him 40 yards off the ball, making an amazing interception. And he plays at Lakota West now. He's not at some Division 5 school. So he's playing Moeller and that group, Fairfield. He's playing the highest competition in Ohio. He must have blocked 5 punts as a junior. And he's not going against a Division 6 school. They can't line up. They don't know what to do. No, these are the best teams in Ohio. They can't block. He blocks punts. I mean, he's like a shot coming off the edge. So I love the fact that he plays special teams and plays them hard. He could be a great receiver. He really could be. He's he's almost a Garion Conley type that could maybe play corner. He's going to fit perfectly with Jim Knowles, what he wants to do. I mean, I love the kid. He's so versatile. I love the fact that he plays in a great program and plays against great players week after week after week. So to me, I mean, this is a high-end recruit. I went back the past 4 or 5 years to see, how would I compare Malik? And he's not CJ Hicks. He's not Sonny Styles, not Jack Sawyer, not Paris Johnson, but, he's right behind them guys. They were top 10 kids nationally. To me, Malik would be top 75 nationally, and a high 4-star kid, not a 5-star, but a solid 4-star kid. And to me, he's a kid that Georgia and Alabama and Florida and Texas, they should be recruiting the kid, even though, he knows where he wants to go, but he could play at that level. I mean, so I'm basically all in on Malik Hartford. I mean, as high as I could be, on a safety prospect.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about him is it's hard to find a real deficiency in his game. He's 6'3", he can run, he can cover, he's physical. As you mentioned, he plays special teams. He's a pretty serious kid. He's not one of those social media stars. He's not really into a lot of the interview stuff. I'm almost put off by it, really. So he's a very serious, student of the game type of guy. I'm having a hard time. Again, I always try and find something where it's like, oh, that could be a problem, and I just can't. I don't think he's not quite. I think you probably put it pretty on the money with his athleticism. I don't think he's not Malik Hooker athletically, but I think he's a better athlete than Jordan Fuller coming out of high school. So he's somewhere in between those two athletically, which is exciting because both of those guys, they did it a little bit differently in how they went about it, but both of those guys were fantastic players for Ohio State. So I look at him as, again, I agree. I think he's like a top 50-ish. I think I'd have him somewhere between 35 and 55 or something, probably in the country, somewhere in that vicinity, is a really high 4-star. And, but I think he's also he's a high floor guy. It's hard for me to believe he's not going to be a good player. Like I don't see a lot of bust concerns there. I really don't. I think they're getting a pretty polished player. I think they're getting he's very impactful at the high school level. This isn't a guy, some of these guys we watch and we're like, man, he doesn't dominate consistently, but he's really athletic. So we'll see what happens. Could go either way. I don't see that here. I see someone who impacts the game. So I think this is a huge pickup. And you mentioned it. You said you would probably have him number 1 in Ohio. I think the consensus is that he's 2. I think like in the composite rankings and like that, he's 2. Obviously, like for me, this all changed when Sonny Styles reclassified. It opened this up for debate.
Yes.
For me, there was no debate when Sonny Styles was a 2023 prospect. To me, was clear that it was a Jack Sawyer, Paris Johnson situation where we can talk about who's number 2 in Ohio, but we know who number 1 is. I guess, I mean, kind of explain yourself a little bit on that. Why you would have Hartford 1. Maybe over Luke Montgomery, those two are kind of the consensus top 2 right now.
Yeah, I agree. I love Luke and I love his potential. And, we're splitting hairs here between Montgomery and Hartford over 1 and 2. But I don't know. Do you feel that there then is a gap down to 3, 4, 5? I mean, I don't think anyone's challenging these two at the top.
I think so, but I'll tell you what, I was just at I don't want to overreact to it, but I was just at that Under Armour camp here in Columbus, and Austin Sierraville was really good. And I didn't expect him to be, actually, because he's coming out of that triple option offense at Lakota East. And so I thought it would be a nightmare in those one-on-ones, and he was fantastic. So I'm like, that's like stock up for me. I'm not going to jump him over those two based on just that, 30 minutes or whatever. But it was interesting to me as something maybe to watch this fall. But no, I agree. Those are my top 2. I get my case for Montgomery would be position value, but I would tend to agree. I think Malik Hartford is a more impactful high school football player right now. And then it's kind of, if they both hit their ceilings, who would be better, and do, how much do you factor in Luke Montgomery potentially playing offensive tackle versus Malik Hartford, likely playing safety.
Yeah, I mean, from talking to, Luke Montgomery's dad, Justin Fry has talked to him about possibly playing center.
Yeah.
And maybe guard and maybe tackle. And, Justin Fry is kind of like, you're learning to play offensive line. You haven't been an offensive lineman long. We don't know where your body's going to take you. I'm going to need to get you, in my room. I can't tell you right now where you're going to be, but just the fact that he kind of threw out the center thing, makes me think maybe they don't view him as a tackle. But, and he told Luke, I can't tell you what position you're going to play. I need to have you in my room, and if maybe you grow another inch or two before I get you. So, they love Luke as an O lineman, and we think the world of him as an O lineman. But I think, you knew Paris Johnson was a left tackle from the moment we saw him. But with Luke, I don't know. I think the position specific is not there right now.
No, I agree. And I would say this, I think Malik is maybe the safest pick.
Yeah.
If your goal is to not look bad, I think Malik Hartford would be your number one. I don't think there's any chance that you don't, he may not end up being the best player in this class from Ohio, but I don't think he's going to end up being, the 50th best player. I think if you put him one, I think you're going to end up looking pretty good in 4 years. Maybe he ends up only being the second or third best player from the class, but it's not going to be a big miss. So I would go with that. Again, yes, if Luke's a center and not a tackle, I think that would be another thing that would maybe swing things Malik Hartford's way as we debate this. I think it's fun we're debating this because I don't really remember a lot of debates the last few years because it's kind of
that's been
Jack
clear.
Sawyer, CJ Hicks, Sonny Styles, Paris Johnson, Zach Harrison. There hasn't been much room for debate on this topic in really quite a few years.
No.
So this is fun, and I'm going to let this go out. I'm not going to really get married to either position yet. I'm going to kind of wait. I'm going to let this go into their senior years.
Yeah, see, the last thing I'd want to say about Malik, and I want to go back to what you said, like where you're looking for holes, you're looking for weaknesses. Well, I don't see any. So this is a guy I think checks off every single box. And if we do this podcast in 5 years and we talk about why didn't Malik make it, it's either going to be injuries or it's going to be him not working hard enough, deciding to, switch to baseball. I don't know what it would take, but that's what it's going to take. He checks off every single box right now. And if he'll just do his part in the classroom, in the weight room, on the field, in the meeting room, if he does his part and he doesn't suffer, the Cam Babb syndrome where you're injured all, it's not your fault. Your body just can't withstand college football. If he stays healthy and he works his butt off, he's going to be a great player. I think he's almost a sure thing if he doesn't screw it up on his end or injuries don't derail him.
Yeah, it really is hard to imagine him not, being like at least like a 2-year starter at Ohio State. It's just really hard to imagine that not happening, especially given the room he's walking into. But, and let's go into that. I mean, okay, now they've got two. They've got Malik Hartford. They've got Cedric Hawkins. Where does this stop? Because there are some really good safeties still in play.
Right.
I mean, we can go back and forth. We'll that'll be another podcast where we talk about, do they have a shot at Caleb Downs and all these guys? But like they are in the game for several more safeties, highly rated guys, out of state guys, national type recruits. At what point, whether it's Perry Eliano or Jim Knowles or Ryan Day, whoever's the ultimate decision maker on that, at what point does Ohio State say, okay, we're full. The inn is full. There's no more vacancy. We're done here with safeties. Do they take 2 more? Would they take 4?
Well, they're going to take 3 for sure. And I could see 4. The game has changed. These guys are asked to do so much different things. There was a clear line, I don't know how many years ago, 10 years ago, between a safety who was, Mike Doss and Jeffrey Okuda. There's a clear line between, or Gary and Conley, now the lines are kind of blurred. You need your safeties to do so much now. They're almost like quasi, there almost should be a new name for some of these guys. I mean, when you think safety, you think Ronnie Lott or something like that, or Mike Duck, those days are over. These guys have to be able to cover. They have to be long and athletic. And I mean, Malik Hartford was, I don't know, I don't see much difference between him and Gary Conley in high school. Malik be a hell of a receiver, so I think people freak out if they see Ohio State take 4 safeties in this class. But what Jim Knowles is going to ask of those DBs, you need this combo type of guy. You got to be able to tackle. You got to be able to cover. You got to be fast. You got to be athletic. This is Malik Hartford. I think they're probably going to get Damian Fagan. So that's going to put you at 3. And then you're not saying no to Downs or Aguero. I mean, they do take 4 probably. They need to have, and that room needs restocked. There's been some misses. Guys that they didn't get that they thought they were going to get, and guys that they took that maybe they shouldn't have taken. So that room needs restocked. So I like Cedric Hawkins. I love Malik Hartford. I think Damian Fagan is so underrated. It's unbelievable. I think Damian Fagan, I would rate him ahead of Cedric Hawkins, and then you chase those studs, those 5-star studs too. So, they need them. That room needs restocked.
They may disagree with both of us here. I mean, 4 would be my target number. It wouldn't even be, well, we're going to take Fagan and that's 3. And then if by some miracle we get Caleb Downs, we'll push it to 4. No, 4 would be my target number.
It may be.
There are a lot of situations where you're playing essentially 3 safeties.
And see, that's a misnomer, because 10 years ago, if someone would have said, oh, we're going to play 3 safeties, said, are you out of your mind?
Right.
What are you doing? Well, it's a different game now. The position has changed. The position has evolved. And if you're thinking, 2010, you're not playing 3 safeties. Or, you know what I mean? You're just not going to do that. This is a different game now. The position has changed. The line is blurred between corner and safety now. So, I think people freak out when you talk about, we're going to take 4 safeties. We're going to put 3 safeties on the field. It's not it's not 2010 anymore. This is a new game. So, like I say, don't freak out over it. I would take 4. I might take 5 if it was the right guy.
Yeah. Here's the other thing that, time flies, and between time flying and between, I think, the whole COVID year that just threw everyone off on classification and everything, but like Lathan Ransom is about to enter his 3rd year in the program. Cam Martinez is about to enter his 3rd year in the program. These guys are going to be 4th-year players when the 2023s arrive. They're going to be on their way out of the program when these guys arrive. They need an absolute restocking of the cupboard.
Oh, yeah. You've already seen Cavazos and Shaw.
Yeah, Shaw.
Shaw was on the field for what, 80 to 85, 90% of the plays last year at Ohio State.
Right.
He might. I'd like to go back. I'd love to go back, and I will do that. I will go back and look at the play chart to see where he ranked on that defense last year in terms of total plays on that defense. He's going to come out really high in total plays he was involved in. He was on that field as much as, I'm going to say, as much as any player on that team. So, it wasn't like a guy left the program who just was buried and was never going to play. Bryson Shaw was a main cog, a key contributor last year. So, I think it says a lot.
Yeah, they don't have the talent and they don't have the numbers, right? I think they have to take 4. Again, I don't think it's a luxury. I think you have to take 4. And the cream will rise to the top, and maybe 1 or 2 of them do hit the portal within 18 months, but you restock it again the next year. That's the new reality of college football now. You got to just keep let the cream rise to the top and see what happens.
Right. You have to do it the way Heartline does it. Okay, great. Bring 4 in. Are those 4 probably going to stay 5 years and graduate from Ohio State? Probably not. Mookie Cooper saw writing on the wall, gone. Jameson Williams, gone. Doesn't matter. He's going to get 4 more that are unbelievable players. And if one of those 4 transfers, you get 4 more the next year. That's the way you do it. That's how you build, a roster that can compete with Georgia and Alabama. Every guy in his room is taking stud after stud after stud after stud. You don't worry about the portal. You don't worry about, if we take this guy, someone's going to transfer. So what? You replace him with great. I think the Heartline, and it's hard to do because he's the best recruiter in the country, but that would be the goal to me. If I'm Ryan Day and I'm in a staff meeting, he's going to be the gold standard. And I'm going to tell the rest of them, you better start doing it the way he's doing it. You know what I mean? If everybody does it the way he's doing it, we're winning championships.
And, just kind of wrapping this up, I mean, this is a great start, I think, for Perry Eliano.
Sure.
This is a guy they brought in to, basically be a dynamic recruiter in the secondary. I mean, he just produced 2 outstanding corners at Cincinnati. He's going to be doing some safety stuff here now. It sounds like him and Walton are going to kind of work together on the secondary, even though one's safeties and one's got the corners title. But, he's got some out-of-state guys he's targeting. But, hey, I mean, look, this was a guy that Ohio State didn't offer him until Eliano took the job. So I think he gets maybe a little more credit here than maybe you would normally give somebody for getting an in-state kid. I mean, this seems to be a guy he really came in, and it was, it's one of those things where you probably get to have that conversation with Ryan Day where, it's like, okay, we're bringing you in, new set of eyes, everything else. Who do you want? And this is the guy that he said he wanted. And, so this is a good start. I mean, let's kind of, what have you seen or heard from him so far? I mean, are you confident, that he's going to be able to continue, that high level of recruiting that everyone's expecting of these Ohio State coaches at this point? Do you think, as we sit here in, early April, 8 months from now, are people going to be happy with what Perry Eliano has done in this cycle?
I think so. I think these guys are off to a good start, but to be fair, to judge Perry Eliano, we're gonna have to do this podcast in early February. Let him put his team together. Let him put the hay in the barn. Let me have that list of who signed at Ohio State, and we'll pick it apart. And the proof is in the pudding at that point. So everything I've heard about every one of these guys is very positive, and I really got a ton of feedback, from last weekend from that South Florida Express group. Those are my guys, and Brett and Ricky and Gino. I mean, the thing I like about them is they don't sugarcoat anything. And they're on first ring basis with Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, you name it. So they're not stargazers. Somebody showed up and, we met. No, they've met them all. They know them all. So when they go out to California and they tell me they were blown away by Lincoln Riley and USC, that means something to me. It's hard to blow these guys away. When they tell me they visited UCLA and Chip Kelly didn't take the time to leave his office and come down and meet with them, they had nothing organized for them, and they basically wasted, 3 or 4 hours that they didn't have to waste. That means something to me. So when they're back at Ohio State and they're raving about Ohio State, right on par, meet or exceeded what USC did, they love Ryan Day. They've always loved Heartline. I mean, Heartline's always been their guy. But as they get to know Ryan Day more, they just think the world of him. Alford now, because Alford has the northern part of the state, doesn't really hit the SFB guys. Oh, they love Tony Alford now. So Knowles really made a big impression on them as a tobacco chewing, spitting in his cup, no nonsense, but yet able to explain to them, what he wants to do and how he's going to use these guys. So, yeah, I'm really impressed with his coaching staff. And last year, we weren't, and I think you and I kind of call it like it is. From the day he was hired as the coordinator, we questioned whether Kerry Combs was the right guy for that job. And we love Kerry Combs, right? I mean, we love the guy. I mean, he's the best guy in the world. I'm a great guy too. I'm not ready to coach the defense at Ohio State. Neither was he. So, but I love this coaching staff, and the reviews are amazing from recruits and coaches I talk to. The proof is in the pudding. The proof is what the product you put on the field, and the proof will be in February who you sign. Right now, we're in the layup line and everything sounds great. In February, we're going to see the final score.
Yep. Well, it's a good start so far. We're gonna have another podcast here later, probably the next few days. We're gonna take a little more broad look at the class and where some things are at. But seems to be some positive momentum coming out of the big recruiting weekend. Obviously, now they land Malik Hartford coming out of that, which didn't really have anything to do with the recruiting weekend, but was just another example of some momentum this coaching staff has right now on the recruiting trail. And so the next few weeks should be pretty interesting, and we'll be on top of it. So we appreciate everyone for tuning into this, and we'll see you next time.